Another possibility at the moment that we're feeling upset is to bring to mind an ideal or a spiritual truth. For example, if I have as an ideal Christ, and I bring Christ to my mind at the time that I'm angry and hurt, this will definitely change my psychology. Or if I believe that I am a soul in the process of evolution, or if I believe that there is a wisdom in the universe which brings to me what I need at each moment, and I bring any of these truths into my mind, then these truths will change my psychological state. So another way of dealing with emotions in the present is either bringing an ideal that we have, or the ideal also could be one of the spiritual qualities. I can bring the ideal of love, the ideal of peace. You know, I want to be peaceful. I want to be loving. What I'm feeling at this moment is not loving, is not peaceful. And try to develop that. But again, so as to avoid this personality syndrome, we need to analyze it later. Okay? So there are three possibilities. I bring, or four I guess. I bring the opposite emotion. I bring an ideal, such as Christ, into my mind. I bring an ideal such as a spiritual quality, such as love, understanding, peace. Or I bring a spiritual truth into my mind. So I'm learning to do two things here. I'm learning to observe my mind, and I'm learning to manage my mind, which is very important. I'm not out of control, you know. I'm not the victim of my programming. I am starting to be able to function consciously and consciously choose at a certain moment to connect with something other than the result of my programming. Because my programming says, here get angry, here get upset, here feel fear. This is what our programming is doing, you see. So we're learning to be the witness and to decide that I don't want this emotional state, and to bring into the mind something which will help me move away from that. Another possibility, which is what Ken Kai's calls a consciousness doubler. Ken Kai's, which we will be talking about later, is a man who is paralyzed both legs and both arms. He is totally unable to function by himself. He has to be fed, he has to be helped to go to the bathroom. And he has written over 15 books on happiness. And he is the coordinator, or the creator of the coordinator of what's called the 12 Pathways to Higher Consciousness. And he says that you can be totally happy because life gives you exactly what you need to be happy. And he is happy even though he is unable to use his arms or his legs. So we have here a very powerful example of the fact that reality is what we create in our minds and not what is happening outside of ourselves. That if this person can be happy and travel all the world teaching seminars on happiness, then who are we to say, I can't be happy because someone didn't say hi to me today and someone spoke to me negatively and I didn't have my coffee yet or my cigarette or whatever it might be. So he's a very good example. And he calls this the consciousness doubler, and that is, imagine you are the other person. Put yourself into the other person's position. Now this of course would be used in situations in which the other person is the stimulus for our negative emotions. Okay, we wouldn't use this for an earthquake or something like that. Imagine that you are the earthquake. You might imagine that. You might discover something through that. We did this in one class a few weeks ago. Yes, the earth, and you're just trying to throw people off. You know? Get rid of these polluters. Okay. Like a person trying to shake off lice off of his head. You know? Okay. So imagine that you are the other person and try to understand the feelings and the needs and the beliefs. Three things: what the other person feels, what he needs, and what he believes, which is causing him to function in this way. Now the functioning could be a functioning which bothers us because it's aggressive or violent, or it's hurting us, or it could be laziness, it could be a lack of responsibility, a lack of productivity, or it could be anxiety, anger, shouting, and these kinds of things. In both cases, it's useful to realize that in 99% of the cases, the reason this person is functioning in this, in quotations, negative way, is that he doesn't have enough self-confidence and self-acceptance. That basically fear and self-doubt are behind these kinds of actions. I believe that laziness is usually just a result of the fact that a person fears failure. Failure. It fears trying, you see, because trying, it creates the possibility of not succeeding. And not succeeding may be overwhelmingly painful for some people, because they have learned that they have to be perfect, or they believe that they have to be perfect, not make any mistakes, so the best thing is not to do anything whatsoever. It could also be the result of lack of energy, but in many cases it's the fact that someone doubts their ability or doubts their self-worth. So putting ourselves in the other person's shoes, in the other person's situation, often helps us to become free from negative emotions towards that person. So this is the consciousness doubler, and it's this way because I am experiencing two consciousnesses now. I'm experiencing my own consciousness and this person's consciousness. So I have been increased, you see. And if I can do this with more and more people, then I keep increasing my consciousness as I begin to understand and identify with more and more people in my life and what they are feeling and why they are doing what they are doing. And then we can understand them. That does not mean that we are not strict with them in asking them that they behave properly. Understanding someone doesn't mean that we allow them to do anything they like, even when that is against any kind of moral conduct, or they are doing to us what they would not like us to do to them. It means that we understand them, we don't have negative feelings towards them, but we are very assertive in explaining the behavior that we need from them. That balance is not always easy, but it is definitely a goal. Because we neither want to suppress ourselves, we want to respect ourselves, but we also want to respect the other. So when we're not expressing our needs and feelings, we're not respecting ourselves. But when we're shouting and screaming at the other and calling him all kinds of horrible names, we're not respecting him. So we want to be respectful but assertive.